say Lockheed is having a bad time because too much peace for their stocks, how exactly would they force government representatives to make war for them? I mean, for one, peacetime doesn't necessarily mean Lockheed isn't making their money. For one, we give weapons to other governments. We have contracts with other governments that our government does. If we give them stuff, that we have to like replete those stockpiles with our military industrial companies. For two, the military budget can just keep going up, like even if there's no reason for it to. I mean, look at what's happened over the past few decades, you know? In addition to that, look at the Iraq War. Like a huge amount of the Iraq War, like post-invasion corruption was like Halliburton no-bid government contracting, you know? This is some of the shit that like no one, you know, like Obama didn't prosecute for this, of course, because, I mean, for one, not, a lot of it's not even illegal, and for two, like they're kind of in on it as well, but it's literally like, you know, they say the invasion of Iraq cost us trillions of dollars. Where do you think those trillions went? Like, actually think about it, right? Where does that money go? Some of it goes to the wages of the soldiers, but that's a tiny fraction of it. In reality, the vast, vast, vast majority of that money goes towards private companies who supply us the mercenary payments. Holy shit, they get a lot of money. The contractors, the equipment, the maintenance, everything. And they gouge us out the ass for it. You know that meme? Everyone knows this, right? In the military, everything costs way the fuck too much. It's not just like aeronautics or whatever, or like the space industry where a bolt costs 40 bucks, but there's a good reason for it. It's like, oh yeah, you know, this haircut costs you 200 bucks. You know that bit? It's from King of the Hill. Why does the haircut cost 200 bucks every time? Because that means the government's cutting that check to a private company. War, in a lot of cases, is just an excuse for siphoning trillions of dollars out of the government and therefore the taxpayer into the coffers of, like, honestly, a pretty small number of companies. It's literally just an excuse to do that. So, you know, there's an example. That's also the reason why, despite the fact that you'd think it would make sense to do so, very rarely are defense companies nationalized. Like, you'd think that would make sense, right? Like, if your national defense is predicated on your ability to, say, produce so-and-so amount of ammunition, which it is, that's kind of important for a military, you'd think you would nationalize it and just have the government do it. But if you did that, it wouldn't exist as an excuse to siphon an unconscionable amount of money to private industry. So they don't, which is why defense companies are private basically all around the world, you know? Like, it's just a means by which money is transferred. And the money that is transferred on account of like military expenditures is greater than any other wealth transfer in society, basically in history. Like, if you take a look at how much money was siphoned from the taxpayer into those companies over, say, like the Iraq War, that period of time, nothing else comes close. There's no other wealth transfer that's anywhere near that scale. Like, you can talk about tax breaks, you can talk about, I don't know, cutting welfare benefits. All of that is margins on the dollar. We're talking like little fractions of the real wealth transfer, which is this, the MIC. Anyway, the Democrats were just as complicit in that system as the Republicans. Probably because if anyone in office like ever spoke out about it, they'd be disappeared. So I don't fucking know. I'd love if you did a more extensive segment on this. If I do, they'll disappear me. I have to go quiet now. I'm getting a call from my handler. When do you think it got so bad, or do you think military companies have always been price gouging no matter the year? It got really bad after World War II. World War II was when America perfected the process of making defense contracting like the monolithic industry that it is today. Because not only did we supply arms to our allies prior to our involvement in World War II, and then we became a superpower after World War II, we also then rebuilt a lot of the world, you know, Marshall Plan shit after World War II, which means that there was like a very strong incentive to not only make like military production something you do for wartime, but something you sustain indefinitely throughout the Cold War. You turn it into a self-perpetuating industry, and that's the reason why Eisenhower was the one who first coined, well, not coined the term, but he was the one who first talked about, you know, the military-industrial congressional complex. Sorry, he didn't first talk about it, but you know what I mean. It was a post-World War II thing. Popularized. That's pretty rough. As an Air Force enlistee, I can tell you a lot of the overspending has to do with program offices intentionally overspending to justify their budget so it isn't reduced the next quarter. Yeah, very classic. The bureaucracy is expanding. meet the needs of the bureaucracy shit. Why not just privatize the military? Because if the military was fully privatized, it wouldn't exist as an entity to transfer wealth from the taxpayer into the private companies. That's the private-public partnership. The Pentagon needs to be public so it has access to the coffers of the government, the tax base, you know? And then all that money gets fucking shit out into the private companies that it contracts. But like that's the partnership. You will have there will be criticism of a lot of you know, like the upper crust, I guess, from the Trump administration, often disingenuously. You will not see politicians criticize the MIC anymore, not meaningfully. I know Biden name dropped it during his going out speech because he was too much of a pussy to bring it up during his presidency. But in any meaningful way, you will never have a president get up there and say like, hey, listen, just so you guys know, the Pentagon basically just exists and can't be audited because it is a system that we use to turn tax dollars into money to military contractors. They're never going to say that. It's not going to happen. Anyway, if you want an idea of how disconnected our military budget is from our actual military readiness, did you know that we have shocking shortages of many of the critical ammunition types that we use? Like, really basic stuff. You know, obviously there's more, you know, there's enough 9mm rounds out there in the world to like fill the drained Atlantic Ocean or whatever. But when it comes to like certain types of artillery and tank rounds, certain types of missiles, we actually have really few of them. Like an enormous amount of money, you know, gets funneled into the Pentagon. But sometimes like the production of these like basics doesn't even get run out. Don't we have like one major ammunition factory and it doesn't even run that often? We can't make ammunition anymore. We don't know how. We've been running out sending them to Ukraine. Yeah, but like, doesn't that seem insane to you? Like bullets, tank shells, artillery shells, even missiles just aren't that expensive. They're just not relative to the budget of the Pentagon. Like, it's just not that much. Oh, it costs $1 million to make this. Who the fuck? $1 million? That's it? Compared to the fucking money the Pentagon gets? Are you insane? We don't even have that much of a strategic reserve of some of these types of ammunition. Whatever. I'm going to read donos, and then I got to dip. I need to, like, channel my energy to get ready for tomorrow. Ooh. This 96-year-old factory worker makes 120mm tank shells the old-fashioned way. It's some guy with, like a denim apron and like a hammer and fucking chisel, knocking a little groove into the side of the cap of the missile.